Hello.
Hello. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Good, good. I'll be on mute. I assume it's early.
Luana, it looks like you have the same name as me.
Oh, that is so funny. Let me change it.
Yeah.
We probably will share the same link. Hold on, let me change it.
Want to say hi? Okay, you don't have
Okay.
to.
All right. Paola, if you're on the call, you need to promote Crystal. She is an attendee and she needs to be promoted as a panelist. I don't know that I can do it from my laptop. Thank you. Oh, hi, Alexis. She's there.
Okay, I'm gonna move to the other room to go do the setup over there. You have co-host ability, so you can watch the stack. Let me also give that to Tracy in case you lose connectivity. And let me go get Alexis all set up over there in the room.
Okay, thank you so much, Paola. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to get started shortly. We're going to give it about a couple of more minutes for people to join. I'm going to ask if you're joining the call and you're joining as a panelist, to please, in addition to your name, put the name of your organization. I just thought about that it could be good practice for people to see those of us that are joining, to see what organization you're representing. And that way, when I call on you, I can accurately state your organization, if that's possible. Thank you. Hey, Alexis.
Hey,
We want to copy this over.
Alexis, if you saw the agenda, I'm seeing that the programming is, let's see, programming updates is agenda item number 4.
oh, I see it as 3.
I
Program-
update,
Oh, no.
I update the agenda. Because the guy that had the art installation is not ready to January.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Okay,
So it's now 3, yeah.
so it's now 3, but I'm wondering, Paula, why did we do that instead of at the top of the agenda?
He was there, you have an old agenda, I just emailed you the new one, he just emailed last minute that he
No,
couldn't.
no, 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 no. I'm talking about why is it that we're not starting immediately after my report? Programming
mean?
updates.
So she means like that's, she's thinking that should have been 2 and that this should have been 3.
Well, you guys can amend that, but when I sent her the draft, this was still in the same
Okay.
place, all I did was
Gotcha.
remove number 2 and this moved up. I
Okay,
don't know,
Okay,
so we can,
yeah.
well, when you.
so somebody needs to make a motion to amend the agenda so that we can follow the traditional order.
And just a note, if you didn't, notify anybody, or do not have an excuse, for not attending in person, I know, Tracy, you notified, but anybody else, you don't count towards quorum because, you did not go through the right channels to say you were attending via Zoom.
Right. And we don't have a resolution tonight, Alexis, so, but I understand the importance of attending meetings in person.
Yeah, because it doesn't really, it actually can count as unexcused
Right.
absence.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So we have 3, I'm here, and we have 3 members on Zoom.
Members are there? Danny's there?
No, just me.
Just you? Okay.
You, Tracy, and Crystal are on Zoom.
Okay. I'm gonna get started.
No, Noemi's here. too. Noemi.
Yeah, Noemi's online. I just, yeah.
That should work.
All right.
Conference room?
Or conference room there. When you go to conference room, it doesn't pop to you for the classroom. I'm sorry, I don't know my glasses.
You know, I know it's a busy time of year, but, you know, you're in town, have to make the effort.
All right, we're gonna get started, Alexis, okay?
Yeah, please do.
All right, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. Today is December 10th, 2024. Welcome to the Community Board 12 Parks and Community Affairs meeting, the PCA. My apologies for joining remotely. I'm actually traveling. I'm in the sunny Dominican Republic, traveling for work, as a matter of fact. So my apologies. This should be my last of the travels. I know that I was absent the last time, and that's due to personal reasons, but I'm here. I'm going to be facilitating this meeting for the first hour, and then my co-chair, Alexis Marnell, will take over at 7:30. And I will be also taking minutes. I don't have much to report other than there has been some concerns with regards to a train station that is in one of our parks, the Fort Tryon train station being closed, I believe, but I'll let Alexis fill us in a little bit on that. But I do want to preface the conversation by saying that unfortunately, the intersection of transportation and parks, we don't have access to information with transportation matters. So I just want to preface the conversation by saying that. And Alexis, do you have anything to add with that report? Because that's sort of like the pressing issue that has come to my attention
Right.
with
Is
regards to parks.
Is Barbara on?
Barbara's not on yet. I'm waiting for her.
So, I know Barbara, reached out to the, Traffic and Transportation Committee to discuss this issue.
Mhm,
I believe it was discussed at the last Traffic and Transportation meeting.
mhm.
But truly Parks doesn't have purview, correct? Am I correct? Chris?
No. Yeah, exactly. You are correct.
Parks does not have purview over, creating, accessibility into the park because that's on DOT property, but Chris is gonna correct me on something right now.
I would just say we do coordinate, they coordinate with us, depending on the closure of the stairs and access to the terrace. So when that station, if and when that station becomes ADA accessible, when that work begins, there's like 2 phases to it. We'll be coordinating very closely with them on that and.
Okay.
I'll report, or we can ask someone from MTA to report, at least in terms of its impact
Okay,
on.
so thank you, Chris. So that means that you will be able to provide sort of like some information as it pertains to park. And then if people want to become more informed, then they can go to the DOT meeting, right?
That sounds correct. Yeah, I mean, our focus
Fantastic.
would be the entrances, onto Bennett Avenue and onto, into Fort Tryon Park Club.
Okay, so let's do that during the parks report. I also want, but wait a minute. The motions do like we can still pass motions even when we are remote, right, Alexis? Can you remind me of that procedure?
You and I can, and Tracy can because she was excused and you were excused.
Okay. And then, okay, so that's good because that means that we still have 4 people to put it to a vote. So can I please have a motion to adjust the agenda to follow the flow that after my report, then we'll get into programming.
Motion to amend the agenda.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. The one last thing that I'm going to add is, and then any abstentions to that motion. Okay. The next thing that I want to discuss is the possibility of the committee to rotate meetings, to rotate minute taking, to lessen the volume of the chair, Alexis, who not only takes fabulous meetings, but also it's quite cumbersome to be part of the discussion while taking meetings. And then, of course, if you chair, you cannot do both things at the same time. That being said, Alexis is going to provide us with a template so that everybody takes at least 1 set of minutes during this cycle. Okay, so I also wanted to make that announcement. I will take these minutes for this meeting because I'm only staying here for an hour. So I'm going to rely on the transcripts that will be forwarded to me from the central office. And then we can decide who's going to take minutes during the next meeting in January. You have anything to add to that, Alexis,
Yes.
as vice chair?
So please, when you take these minutes, try to capture as high a level of detail as possible. Because it's important to have a fairly, I can't even think of the word today, a relatively, well, I guess I'll say it, high level of detail in the minutes.
Okay. And just to give everybody an understanding, the entire transcript gets forwarded to us. So if it serves purposefully, what I do, the way that I take minutes is that I download everything, like the dialogue and everything, and I start deleting, I start shaving. And that will allow for some robust information that is necessary for a matter of public information. Barbara, thank you for coming. I have good news for you. I know that you're very concerned about the DOT and our conversation that we had last night. So we have Chris from Parks, and he will be able to provide some level of information as it pertains to Parks and not DOT, because we cannot speak on behalf of DOT. Okay, so a motion was
I did get the DOT contact, and I'm trying to connect with the person.
fantastic.
Okay.
So there was a motion passed to amend the agenda so that we follow the same flow, where after my report, we start with programming. That was listed as an item 4. It's been moved up to item 3 because the presentation of public arts has been canceled. So that item, so we amended the agenda so that we can follow the traditional flow, just to keep you abreast, Barbara.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you
So
see the amendment with Harlem River Community Rowing? So that's number 2. So would
they're
actually
here.
be-
They're
yeah.
here.
So when
So
do you want
they're-
them to go next, or?
They're gonna go after programming. Okay, thank you. Oh, no, but if this is Harlem River Community Rowing, the thing is that I get them confused with no, I know, yeah, the person is there, right? I get sometimes the Hudson Sailing with the Harlem Rowing confused, but there's a representative for Harlem Rowing. I saw the person in camera, right?
Yeah, so on
Okay,
Harlem,
fantastic.
here, yes.
They'll go after programming. Let's call on Catherine Hughes, Executive Director of the Jumel Mansion. Welcome.
Hello there. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me, Luana and Alexis. We have a real full schedule right now of programming coming up, so I'll try to be quick in that 2-minute slot. This Saturday, we have a paranormal fundraiser, and that is on December 14th, which is the death day of George Washington. So we are conjuring some spirits this Saturday at the Morris Jumel Mansion. We also have a virtual parlor chat on December 18th that is looking at the history of the holidays. So join us for that. It's free at 7 o'clock, virtual. All of these are available on our website. We also have Holidays by Candlelight. That is a family program. It's immersive. You go back in time to 1843, and Madame Jumel has asked that the mansion be decorated. So you're going to help decorate it. That is for especially for kids targeted 4 to 11. And then finally, we have Christmas Carol told by one actor. That is the title of it. This is an actor who tells a very personal tale and the story of A Christmas Carol. That is happening on December 19th at 7 o'clock. So that is it. Hopefully I got in there within the 2 minutes.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Yeah. Danny is our timekeeper. So Danny, you are in charge of the 2-minute timer, or you, Alexis.
Yeah, so when he comes back in. But Catherine, I sent you and everyone else a note to please send a listing of your events so that they can be properly detailed into the minutes. Otherwise, we'll just put www.morrisjumel.org.
Right. I just sent you an email, Alexis, with
For the
all of
sentence.
those.
Catherine,
Oh,
I was
sorry.
for the sentence. It's not just for you, I'm telling everybody. So you can put a high level of detail for your organization and for your program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next person I'm going to call on, I'm calling on people in the order that they appeared, that they signed on. So the next person will be Julie McCoy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie McCoy, the Commodore of the Inwood Canoe Club. Apologies as I struggle through a bit of a winter cold. I'll be short and sweet. In terms of public programs, we had a shoreline cleanup on November 24th. We had 8 people show up. We collected 5 bags of trash, 1 bucket of broken glass from sand, also some dog collars, a dinosaur toy, a foam, a boogie board, a large tarp, a hard hat, a couple of buckets, and an old broom. So that is, we don't have any more shoreline cleanup scheduled in the near future. As we get into the cold weather, we will be doing some more planning. I will be back on in the next meeting, and once we have some dates announced for more shoreline cleanups, I will share those. We are going to look at some of our summer programming to see what we can do to better serve the community, in addition to our open house programs, but we are going to take that as a winter project. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Any questions for Julie? I didn't open the forum for questions for Catherine, but any questions for Catherine or Julie?
Nope.
Okay, moving right along. Thank you so much, Julie. Stephanie Caban.
Most of the time.
Oh, okay. No.
Stephanie, do you have any reports? Okay, I'll come back to you, Stephanie. We have Kaya Samurkas, Friends of Inwood Hill Park.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. No real programmatic updates. It is a bit of a slow season for us. I know that we have not met since the fires in Inwood Hill Park began. I wanted to say thank you so much to our community, to FIDNY, to the Parks Department, the Office of Emergency Management, everyone for their support and their sharing of information and care to Inwood Hill Park, Fort Tryon Park, Highbridge, beyond. We are really grateful to be a part of this community at every day of the year, but especially like these. We're still waiting for assessments from the Parks Department and specifically the Natural Resources Group on what we and then other volunteers can do to support it in the fire restoration. So that's definitely going to make up a big part of our spring and late winter slate of programming. So once those assessments are done, we will send out a call for volunteers as needed, and reiterate the need for better funding and better support for the Parks Department. But I was very, very pleased and touched by the response that we saw. And on behalf of everyone from Friends of Inwood Hill Park, we wanted to say thank you for bodies like this in the community who turns out for all of our events. Yeah, looking forward to 2025. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaya. I have a question. Has there been a report? Recording stopped. That's not good. I'm not going to say anything else until the recording resumes.
Can you hear me, Luann?
Yes, yes. Okay, we're going to pause because as a matter of public record, we need to have these discussions openly. So I will ask my question once recording resumes. Okay. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny.
It's on the laptop, so.
Okay. Thank you, Danny. As I was saying, we paused conversations while we got back onto the recording. I was about to ask Kaya before the recording had stopped, if there has been sort of like an official report as to what was the causes of the fires. What were the causes?
So if there has been an official report, Friends of Inwood Hill Park has not received it, but from everything that I have heard from FIDNY and from the Parks Department, in an unofficial capacity, there doesn't appear to be any intentionality behind it. It doesn't appear to have been arson. Chris Heitman from Parks might be able to provide a further level of detail since that would be within NYC government. But from what we have heard, this doesn't appear to be an intentionally set fire. And given the drought conditions that we saw and the fact that fires were happening in all 5 boroughs, we saw them in Fort Tryon and in Highbridge, Van Cortlandt, I mean, everywhere. I think a pretty unprecedented drought, given the fact that we have people walking through who are smoking. There's a highway that runs right through, and the amount of leaf litter that we have is actually part of a healthy forest ecosystem, and high winds, it really would not take much. And having been outside in those forest fires, I saw how extensively they were burning within the dirt itself. So a lot of them were traveling along the root systems of various plants. There's microscopic air pockets there that keep the smolder of the fire alive. And then when the conditions are right, that can actually turn into an open fire again. And so we did see that there was the initial fire, which was on a Wednesday. Things kind of smoldered for a bit. And then I think it was the following Sunday, there was another actual fire, with flames. that was addressed by the fire department again, and then we went back to smolder until the rains happened. So, but again, Chris can probably provide better detail than I
Thank
had.
you. Mhm.
Everything we've heard indicates non-intentional. But thank you for asking. I appreciate putting
Of
those
course.
rumors hopefully to bed.
Yeah, I was still going to ask that question of Chris, but since you're also part of, you're so deeply involved with Inwood Park, I just wanted to get your, as a community member, if you've heard anything, but I'm quite sure then Chris can answer those questions as well.
Yes.
Stephanie Caban has no programming reports for Riverside. So therefore, I'm going to ask Marty Collins to give his report on behalf of the North Manhattan Arts Alliance. Marty, are you there?
Hello, it's actually
Hello.
it's actually Anthony Rojas, the external relations coordinator.
Great.
Anthony.
Welcome.
Filling
Welcome,
in
Anthony.
for, Martin, thank you so much. We just have 2 items to report. We'd like everyone to join us Thursday, December 12th from 4 to 8 p.m. We're having a holiday market at the United Palace with Community League of the Heights in Noma's Gallery at 4140. In addition to several other activities throughout the day, including a tree lighting, a Toys for Tots drive, and an open mic with Booney at the end of the day. And secondly, we have a call for artists right now for the 23rd Uptown Arts Stroll poster contest. The grand prize winner will receive $2,000, second prize $1,000, and third prize $500. So submissions are open for that, and the deadline is March 16th, 2025. And that is all from Noma.
Thank you so much. It still says Marty, so Alex. Thank you so much, Alex.
No worries.
Any questions for Noma? Okay, let me see. Oh, I have so many participants. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anybody. Okay. All right. So with that said, I am going to move it along to, since we did amend the agenda, I'm going to hand it over to Park so they can do their report. Jana is not here, but Chris Heineman is here. So Chris, are you ready to submit your reports on behalf of Parks?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And then when you're done, if you can just shed light on the fires, that'll be great.
So why don't I'll start with the fires.
Fantastic.
10 minutes?
Yep, 10 minutes.
That sounds good. We do not have an official report. I think what Kaya said was accurate to the extent, however, that we don't know whether anything was intentional or not. We don't have any indications, but we don't have a report from FDNY yet. If and when they release that report to us and we can share that, we'll do so. We're very, very thankful for the rain. Both, the last couple of weeks, a little bit here and there. Today, every day we get it, it's good. We've been fortunate also that it hasn't been too intense because with all the areas that were that burned, there is a concern with very intense rainstorms that we might have a lot of erosion, and so far that's been pretty low key. And just on the fire front, we have worked with our division natural resources group. They have been mapping all the fire zones in both Inwood, Highbridge, and Fort Tryon Park. Inwood, they mapped about 20 acres of burned areas. I don't have an exact number yet, but it's in that range, around 20 acres or so. Highbridge, we had about 10 acres that were burned. And in Fort Tryon Park, it was between 1 and 2 acres that were burned. The Natural Resources Group and the Stewardship Division are strategizing their next steps, I think as Kai mentioned, and they will be planning likely some stewardship activities that include some broadcast seeding, just of like some winter cover crops to kind of help stabilize some of the sloped areas, and we can share that with the community board, and certainly Friends of Inwood Hill Park will be important partners for that work. But also, if folks are interested in helping out, they can go to the stewardship page of nycparks.gov, and they broadcast their public events. So there is one coming up this Sunday. It is a forest restoration project. I don't believe it's specifically in the burn areas because I don't think they're really teed up for that yet. But if folks are interested in being in the park and helping out, removing invasives and doing other good work in the forest, there is this activity on Sunday, December 15th. And I think it's relatively small group. Maybe it caps at like 15 people or something like that. Kaya, I don't know if you want to weigh in on if you've seen the cap on these public stewardship events, but if you're interested, go check it out online, and all their events are posted, and we'll be working very closely with them to coordinate some of the restoration activities in Inwood specifically. Continuing kind of along that fire front, there was a big concern about encampments in the park. We appreciate everyone who has flagged encampments that we didn't necessarily see, and many times members of the public are very helpful flagging them for us. We've had 8 encampment removals in Highbridge and Inwood just since the fires, and including one this morning in Fort Washington Park. So we're going to continue to focus on that and try to minimize the danger both to individuals who might be living in the park or attempting to live in the park, and also just minimizing the risk of any flames occurring in the park. We are also working in coordination with DEP and FDNY on mapping hydrants in the parks. There are a number of hydrants in Inwood Hill Park, in Fort Tryon, and in Highbridge as well that are not active, that we would like to, essentially restore to active duty. And we'll be working with our sister agencies on that in the next year or so. We're also working with the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. As many of you may know, one of the fires, the largest fire in Inwood Hill Park, came very, very close to their toll plaza. So they're interested in mitigating the risks. So they're a very active partner with us. So we've been having good meetings with them so that we can just coordinate better.
Burn the tolls, burn the tolls.
Yeah. That's unlikely to happen. So, let's see, just continuing on kind of the planning work, on the maintenance and operations side to spray showers and water fountains. We know, again, we appreciate when the public reaches out and lets us know if something is still on. Our plumbers are, limited number of plumbers for the entire borough. And so they actually were up this week, uptown in Bennett Park and Fort Tryon Park. I think even today, still doing some shutoffs. There's a lot to shut off. They typically go into the second week of December. So we don't need to panic if anything is still on, but if you happen to see something that's still on, feel free to reach out and let us know. Usually we're aware of it, but in some circumstances we're not. We've been getting a lot of questions about the Upper Greenway closure. So the good news is this is in Fort Washington Park from the 181st Street pedestrian bridge up to Dyken Street. The great news actually is that the contractors have been working on filling the sinkholes, repairing the sinkholes, and restoring the pathway. This week, they may be done as early as Friday, weather permitting. And if not Friday, should be sometime next week. So we're very happy to have that back open. And, that's something that's unfortunately taken quite a while, but it's looking like it'll be this week or next. Just on the Capitol front, try to speed up here a little bit. Bennett Park, as everybody knows, Bennett Park is open. It looks great. We've had a lot of complaints about dogs on the new turf area. We would like to remind everybody that dogs are required to be on leash at all times in Bennett Park and all other parks, with the exception, I believe, of Dyken Fields before 9 a.m. and after 9 p.m. But that is the only exception in all of northern Manhattan. And it's aside from official dog runs. So Bennett Park dogs should be on leash at all times. They are currently allowed on the new turf area. So we've gotten a lot of requests for signage saying no pets allowed. You know, it is a passive lawn, and we currently treat it like all other passive lawns in our parks, which is that pets are allowed on as long as they're on leash and that people clean up after their dogs. So that is where we are with that. No news yet on a ribbon cutting, although we hope very soon. Other projects, Monsignor Cat restrooms are advancing very nicely, looking for spring, summer 25 opening. If you haven't been, go by. The building is like up and getting clad, and it's, you know, it's really coming along nicely. Kiskea playground restrooms on Amsterdam Ave and Highbridge is also coming along very nicely. That is likely a January opening. They are a little bit behind schedule, but we think that they're going to be finished sometime in January 25. Inwood Hill Park, the Dykeman Field soccer field reconstruction, that is progressing very smoothly. All the excavation is done. The drainage system is mostly in place, and hopefully they have not a brutal winter, so they can continue the project, continue working through the winter so that soccer can happen on those fields by early next summer. Inwood Hill Park, we have ball field lighting out on the peninsula. That is in the design phase, so that's moving forward. But it's going to be a while before shovels are in the ground. And the lighting and reconstruction of ball fields 1, 2, and 4 along Seaman Avenue is very close. The project's not registered yet, so they're not allowed to get shovels in the ground, but that may be any day, any week. Hopefully it is before the new year, so they can get going on that project and potential for some fall 25 ball play on those fields. And then my last thing is we had 2 tree lightings, right here, just a block away. Very nice event last week at Mitchell Square. It's beautiful. Staff does a wonderful job keeping Mitchell clean. It looks really nice. We got the public art there, so if you haven't checked it out, please go and do. And also Ilka Tanya Payan. I don't believe there was an event, but it is lit and it looks lovely. So also a nice spot to go check out. And then, yeah, I think event-wise, the only thing I had to mention was that stewardship event. So that's it for my report.
Look at that, right on time.
All right.
I love it.
Thank you. I do have a question, Chris, and I think Kaya also has a question. Any information on this whole DOT parks?
So you mean in terms of the 190th Street station?
Yes.
Yes. So through our interagency division, MTA lets us know whenever there's construction happening on either of the 2 entrances, and if access into and out of the park is going to be impacted. So the main project there is the ADA, the elevator that's slated. They have said to us that project is, at least when congestion pricing was on hold, the project seemed to be on hold. Now that congestion pricing light is starting up in January, we haven't really heard if that's changing anything. So I don't have any dates on that, but they are very close in touch with us if something's about to happen. The first phase of it is that they will close that the main stairs up to Fort Washington, and in order to level that so they can install the elevator level to the entrance into the head house. What that would require is for them to reopen the stairs on the north side of the building leading to the circle. So that's like phase 1. And then phase 2 is actually installing the elevator from the south side of the head house up to Fort Washington now. But I don't have a date on either of those.
Thank you.
As soon as we do, we can share that.
Kaya, I saw that you had your hand up momentarily, but now it's down. Did you have any questions?
I just wanted to, I'm aware of the stewardship event that's happening on the 14th. Registration for that is full, but there is a wait list if people are interested in signing up, and that can be done on the park's website.
Thank you.
On the 15th, sorry.
And Barbara, you have a question about DOT, so because you and I had a conversation last night.
Yes, am I muted? Can
No,
you
you're
hear
not.
me?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're not.
fine. Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, since I'd like to know who you're in close touch with. Could you please send that to me through Luana so the whole board knows who your DOT contact is? Jana Lasort sent me a contact name, and I'm going to get back and let's see if it's the same person. And then secondly, to make it really ADA accessible, I want to make sure that the project is amended so it also includes the stairs that are right there at Bennett Avenue. And I sent pictures last month, and Jana got those pictures, that when you come through the tunnel from Bennett Avenue to the elevators, there are significant steps. They're only like maybe 3 steps or whatever, but those are game changers. And so it doesn't matter if you have an elevator, if everyone that comes up from Broadway and Bennett who needs ADA accessibility can't access the elevators. So, and it is not going to take much to make a ramp or whatever to make it accessible, at that point. And then also we have to consider, can there be some kind of elevator that you can come up from the subway? Because you coming up from the downtown side, it's not possible. There is a ramp from the uptown side, but there is no ramp or accessibility from the downtown side. So take a look and see what's possible.
Barbara, I want to ask this question, not just to you, but openly. Would those capital projects, would they fall under parks or under DOT? So we do have a very reasonable, no pun intended, asks for accommodations, but I'm going to have to ask this question openly if that falls under the purview of parks or DOT.
Chris had the answer.
It's not parks, it's MTA.
MTA, yes. Mm-hmm.
But it would fall, it would be really under the purview of your transportation committee rather than here.
Yeah.
We really, like with parks, again, we really deal with like the immediate interface between MTA's infrastructure and parks infrastructure. So that is at the landing up at 190th and Fort Washington at the head house there. And essentially once you're out the doors onto Bennett Avenue. So anything inside the station is really a question for MTA.
True, but since it's sort of one journey for a person, I think that MTA and parks have to work together on that.
Oh, we do. We work very closely with MTA, but I don't know that. In this particular instance, we can.
But you're saying it's not a parks budget item, it's an MTA.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Or really
Sure.
a parks planning item for that matter.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. As a matter of fact, I got a hold of and spoke with Leo Jimenez, who's head of transportation, about this, and he was supposedly going to send someone to this meeting. Maybe we should set it up better for next month so that both parks and transportation were looking at this together.
We'd be happy to talk with them about access into the park, certainly.
Right. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Any other questions? Danny, you have a question for Chris?
2 things. Any updates on Wheeling Borden?
I don't have any updates on Amelia Gorman at this juncture.
Okay, and I think the second was more of a comment. A comment on Bennett Park.
Yes.
Because I do remember reading this whole thing with turf wars and whatever. I do remember at some point people were talking about the dog situations, like dog pooping on that lawn,
right? Dog
peeing on that lawn and all that stuff. So it's just interesting, just like listening to you talking about that and like having people like put the signs up like, hey, like no dogs off the leashes and all that stuff.
Right.
I wish there was just like a better kind of like way of like enforcing that, because it's just like, okay, like, yeah, you can have your dogs off if you're like one person and all that stuff and no one's like looking at you, but then someone comes in with their kid and it's just like, who are you going to report it to? And then normally the dog person, they're just like, F off, which kind of like sucks.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. So, It's just like, it's like, I get it, you wanna have a time with your dogs, but there are also like designated places for you and your dog.
Well, and we've had members of the public bitten by off-leash dogs in the park, and we had a staff by a dog this
Right.
year in the park while construction was happening. So, you know, for the safety of our staff and the public, this is why we enforce that law. So our PEP unit, they, you know, do the best they can to come by the park periodically and at the very least give verbal warnings to folks who have their dogs off leash. As far as, you know, ticketing folks, they do that when people are unwilling to put their dogs in.
Yeah.
And then as far as the turf goes and managing people who are letting their pets go to the bathroom on the turf, you know, during the warmer months, there is a ground hydrant there, there's access to water, we're working with this group of stewards, and so there will be the possibility of like rinsing off the turf. It's not something that our staff currently has the capacity to do, and obviously it's only going to be able to be seasonal when the water is on, but that does happen in other parks, and there are even dog runs that use turf, and those are regularly sprayed down in order to be kept somewhat clean.
I see, cool. That's it, that's all I asked.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Nice to
Tracy,
chip in.
Tracy, did you want to say something? I saw that you made an annotation here in the chat.
No, I was just referencing the very famous case in New York City of a woman that had her dog off leash, Amy Cooper, and when another member of the public tried to gently correct her, she falsely claimed that she was being threatened. So we all have collectively recognized that when one member of the public tries to sort of be a sort of citizen friend, like, hey, that's not the proper way, you know, it does open you up to, you know, other things. So yes, that was
Yes,
just
thank
a quick
you for that.
reference.
Well, thank you for that, Tracy. And I'm going to fill in with that observation that that designated area that you speak of was a bird watching area. And there was a sign that said, please keep your dogs on the leash because dogs off leash disrupts the habitat of birds and other species, right? And that unraveled into a very egregious false accusation of a gentleman who was an avid bird watcher, part of the Audubon Society. So thank you for that, Tracy. Thank you. Oh, Jamila Sandoval from the council member's office has joined. Hold on, Jamila. Does anybody have any other questions for Chris before we move it to the members'
Yeah,
report?
just briefly, I wanted to ask the ribbon cutting for both Bennett Park and for the Dykeman Rest have been very delayed. Why?
I don't know. I think it's partially just coordinating people's schedules and finding the right time, but I don't know the specifics of it.
Because winter is not a great time to have a ribbon cutting.
That you know, if you find a nice sunny day, it could be.
Right
but
on, Barbara.
It's possible
Yeah.
that it's possible we wait until early spring, but that's not. It's not a decision that's happening.
People are still out and about. It's not like we hibernate.
No, but you know, through the end of October, early November, the place was just the Dykeman Rest was just jammed with kids, and now, of course, that has fallen off. So, I would recommend waiting until March and an early spring ribbon cutting, maybe around sort of a pre-Easter, pre-spring festival type thing.
Noted.
That's all.
Noted. Thank you, Barbara. Jamila Sandoval from the council member's office. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Obviously just here to hear and share any thoughts if I have any updates or have any questions. But the question was for Chris regarding the your pets department. When do they come out to the to parks, obviously to like give warnings? You said periodically, so I'm asking because I have two puppies. I walk them in the morning. And I don't let them off the leash, mostly because I feel like they will never come back at the same time. They like to run a lot. However, I do see in the mornings a lot of people in Inwood Hill having their dogs off the leashes in the actual baseball field. To the point that the sun picks up and it has gotten in my eye multiple times. So I don't want to be like a nuisance or annoying about it, but I do want to know if they can start coming in the mornings to the park because of that reason. Like I always see dogs outside. And they're always the big ones for some reason. And mind you, I hear the dogs across the park in the dog run. The dog run is being utilized for sure. But I always see dog parks in the baseball field, and that makes me concerned for like the maintenance part of it as well.
Yeah, so that is an issue throughout all of our parks. It's not just Bennett, it just happens to be very concentrated at Bennett. So when I say PEP is there periodically, I mean periodically throughout the day. Typically each shift, there are two PEP shifts. So typically
I meant Inwood Hill Park, not Bennett.
But Inwood, every park in the district, each shift tends to visit at least once per shift. So they'll make it to Bennett in the morning and then again in the afternoon. Their timing at a particular park is somewhat flexible, but they can't always hit like the exact time when someone's off leash. So, but they do write tickets and at least give verbal warnings to dog owners in Inwood Hill Park all the time. Certainly every week, at least, every other day or so. It's just a matter of the timing. I mean, there are typically only 3 PEP officers in the shift from, from 125th North all the way up into Inwood Hill Park. So they do their best at any given shift at a time. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's they have a lot of ground to cover. They do an incredible job, and they get routinely called out of the district to St. Randall's or other places to help assist with, other units where there's something larger going on. They do a phenomenal job. We wish we could clone them and 3 times as many of them, because they're, in addition to the the enforcement role, they're just excellent ambassadors in the park. I mean, occasionally the mounted units out there, those guys are great. That team is terrific, and we share your sentiment that we wish they could be around more. So I'm sorry to hear that though, Jamila.
Yeah. And this is why we're going to keep pushing for the 1% of the city budget for parks, because that will remediate all of these supervisory maintenance issues that can come when parks are well funded. Alexis?
Somebody mentioned in the chat too that they've never seen on somebody in Inwood Hill Park. And I know when we had this huge issue over at Roger Morris Park around Morris Jamel Mansion, which actually, as you all know, led to a resolution for a dog park in that neighborhood. But it is really bad. And I had called 311. I was calling, and not until I really had to jump and shout and yell did a PEP officer actually get there. And I know they only issued tickets a few times. But even with this resolution for Larry Neal Dog Run, many people are still using that as an off-leash dog park. And it just seems so out of control that there's got to be a better solution to nipping all of this in the bud.
It's a very challenging issue for us.
I know it is.
Yeah.
And I know it's not, well, and I know it's a challenging issue. And again, to Luana's point, this is why we need more funding.
Stephanie, you had your hand up, but you put it down.
I have one more thing to say real quick.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Jamila. Stephanie
I know
is
that
having
Danny-
problems of unmuting, so yeah, all right. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Go
know
ahead,
Danny
Jamila.
asked about Amelia Gordman Park. Just wanted to say that we are going to meet with the commissioner, my commissioner, sometime this week, I believe tomorrow.
Yay.
About that project and other
Hurry up and clean
projects,
that
so
part.
hopefully we could on that. I didn't get to hear what Danny said.
Oh, no, I just said set them up and to clean that park. Hurry up.
Yes, thank you, Danny. I know.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for anybody before we move it along to the next item on the agenda? All right, I'm going to take that silence and open the forum for the Harlem River Community Rowing, addressing safety concerns for commercial and recreational activities.
Thank you. So I'm going to share a little presentation we have from my computer. I think should work.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so this is partly, well, first of all, my name is Joy Hecht. I'm on the board of the Harlem River Community Rowing. I'm actually the treasurer. Some of you know Bob Barnett, who's also here, who's also on our board. And this is kind of an overview of where we are, various issues you've heard about, some you haven't. First of all, just kind of an overview of what we've done this season. We've actually expanded our program a lot relative to last year. We've had about 200 people participating in our programs, up to around 150 last year. We ran 3 Learn to Row sessions, which are like 6 to 8 week programs for total novices who've never rowed before, so they can learn how to row well enough to actually just come to our regular practices and row. That brought in 24 people. We can have 8 people in a session. And about 18 of them continued rowing after the end of Learn to Row. So that's great. We got some new people in. We also have regular programs on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday mornings for people who want to go basic rowers and advanced. We've had an intensive program in the fall for people who wanted to race, which is new for us. We haven't really focused on racing that much in the past. And they actually competed in like 7 regattas, a total of 20 events, you know, different 8-person boats, 4-person boats, and so on. And we actually medaled in 7 events, which is pretty amazing. And we're pretty pleased about that. And one of the things we found, because in the past we haven't put much emphasis on racing, we were just like, let people come and row. Almost all of our rowers want to race. I'm the weird one. I hate to race. I've been rowing for God knows since college, and I hate to race. I just want to get out there and train. But everybody else wants to race and do something. And all of our programs are free, and that's ongoing. Everything's free for everybody. I think actually. Sorry. Oh, there we go. So who are we? Who's rowing in our programs? We had about 200 people. And we also had another 100 people in order to join the Learn to Row for the novices. We asked everybody to come to what we call it, just come and try it session, where they go out in the boat with 4 experienced rowers, 4 novices, just to see what it feels like to be in a racing shop. And we typically find that after that, about half of the people are still interested in learning how to row, and the other half are like, whoa, that boat's tippy, I'm not sure I like it. Or they realize they can't schedule because they have to commit to come to the program because we have more demand than we have spaces. And if one person doesn't show for practice because they're busy, the other 7 people are kind of in a mess. And it's, you know, really not fair if people can't make the commitment, given that we have, unfortunately, more. I mean, we're happy people want to row, but we wish we could meet more demand. So we've had about 50 people who expressed interest after the come and try it sessions. And we had 24 spots, so we had 24 new runners coming in. They come from all over the city. We actually have people from all 5 boroughs and from Westchester. Although most of our biggest concentration in terms of zip codes are 10034, which is Inwood, and 101.3, Washington Heights, and 10025, which brings in a lot of people. Ages range enormously. We're adults only. We have people straight out of college. We have people in their 60s and 70s, like me and Bob. I sometimes think we're going to create the Medicare group to get enough people. And we have a wide range of people in terms of education and race, ethnic background, and so on. Let me tell you a bit about our finances, because this is one of our ongoing issues. Our annual operating budget is about $20,000, of which a third of it is for insurance. About a third of it is going to pay our coaches. We're all run by volunteers, but we do pay our coaches if they want to get paid. Some of them want to, some of them really don't need the money and don't care about getting paid. And the rest of the money goes for equipment maintenance and repairs. Most of our revenue this year came from donations from our participants. Everything's free, but we do ask people for money. Some people can donate, some people can't. Some people donate a lot, some people donate a little bit, and that's fine. We've also had a number of employer matches, which is making us happy. Because some of them, we have one person who's an employer donates 3-to-1, matches 3-to-1, and you're like, whoa. That's awesome. Please donate more money so we can get more from you. In the past, we have applied for a lot of grants and we've received a number of them. This year, for whatever reason, we have not been successful at receiving grants. But we will, of course, continue to apply for grants next year. And we have a new committee dealing with grants that's actually dredged up tons of stuff to apply for we didn't know about before. So we're still at it on looking for grants. Update on the safety issues, which we came and talked to you about a couple months ago. After our 8-person shell was flipped over by Classic Harbor Line's turboat, which I assume Christie talk about, Dana certainly did. When or where?
What?
September? I think it was September. You know those boats in Manhattan 1 and 2, they put out massive wakes and they flipped us. But we have been working with Classic Harbor Lines on Harlem River safety, and they have been super cooperative. They've also drastically cut the speed of their boats. They do not wake us anymore. As far as I know, I've had health issues and haven't rowed much since June. But they also provide us a chunk of money to cover financial costs that are likely to result from this incident in terms of harm to our boat. And they are very interested in working with us on strategies for how to make the river safer. So they're definitely a really good player. We basically have 3 strategies we would like to put into place if we can for improving things on the river. One is better signage on the bridges about the no wake zones. Lots of people don't know there are no wake zones there. Classic Harbor Lines is now being very good. Circle Line is very good. Most of the problems are not commercial boats, they're private. And so those people, we need a way to inform them. Signage on the bridges is the responsibility of New York City DOT, which means we need to find a way to get to them about this. Another suggestion is that we have buoys. We can have buoys that go in the river that say no wake area. And that is sometimes more noticeable in boats that just ignore the signs on the bridges. And they could be in the river at several key places. That's the responsibility of Coast Guard. Jurisdictions in New York City are a nightmare. And the third thing is better enforcement of the no wake zones. And that is the responsibility of NYPD, Harbor Police, and the Department of Parks. Because the city ordinance that initially created those no wake zones gave enforcement responsibility to both departments. I know you will talk to us. Yeah. I don't know how they think you're going to enforce it, but it is legally the responsibility of it. So we're going to be meeting with Classic Harbor Lines and other players on the harbor, probably starting in January. The woman who's Kate, what's her last name? Kate, I forgot her last name, but the woman who's the manager of Classic Harbor Lines and I are going to coordinate setting up a meeting with other players in this arena. And we will probably need assistance from anybody we can get it from to sort of push the responsibility authorities to actually make these improvements. So we may be coming to you and saying, hey, can you guys use your contact? If we give you names of people to contact them, write a letter. Right now, I can't say here's exactly what we want, but hopefully by January, I'll be able to. So that's where we are on the safety stuff. We're off the water now, so it's not an issue at this point. Another thing that's going on with us is that we really want to broaden our participation a lot and do a lot more to get in people from the communities around us, and particularly from the environmental justice communities around us, because they're all out of them. And what we're thinking about doing is creating another program where we basically go and reach out to all the community groups we can find in Inwood and Washington Heights and also in the Bronx, because it's easy for them to get to us as well. And so we say, hey, do you guys want to get together, 8 people, 4 people, whatever number, who are interested in learning to row, who can come and learn with us as a group. So they row together. And so each sort of community group that we can find, and we'll be doing a lot of outreach to do this, would have their own group and they'd row 2 or 3 times a week over the summer, possibly with coaching in Spanish if that's necessary. We do have one of our coaches who speaks Spanish. And then at the end of the summer, basically we'd organize a regatta for all of them to race against each other, which is usually a lot of fun. And our regular Learn to Row program would probably also have a group that's part of that whole program during the summer instead of being a separate thing. And then anybody in those programs who's interested in continuing to row, of course, could continue to do that afterwards. And we're really hoping to do this because we want to strengthen our ties to the immediate neighborhood. I mean, we serve the whole city, but we really want to also feel that we're specifically serving the people around us. This is actually for us a very complicated project to do. It would take much more time than our volunteers. Right now, our volunteers are doing a lot of stuff and this would take a lot more time. It would also require us to have more boats. We would have to have at least another 8 and another coach's launch so that, you know, you can use the boats we have now if people can row weekdays during the day, but most adults can't, just as we can't. And so we would need at least another 8 so that we can get 2 separate 8s out in the evenings. In this program. And we're also basically thinking of it in terms of hiring a full-time employee for 1 to 2 years to really do all the outreach that's involved and then to do the coaching. And one of our coaches is actually interested, which is why we consider think in these terms. She's been awesome. She does a lot in running our programs, and she's interested in being a full-time coach and not an on-the-side coach with a day job. We are applying for funds for this through the EPA's Thriving Communities program, which I don't know if you guys are aware of this. There's a huge amount of money through the EPA for activities in EJ communities. And that, you know, we've been talking to the woman who's managing it for EPA Region 2, and she's encouraged us to apply, so we're applying. It's a lot of money. It's enough money to hire somebody full-time for a year or 2, and also buy boats.
What is a lot of money?
We're applying for 2 grants. One is a $75,000 grant that's supposed to be easier to get and less.
Which one is that?
specific. Pardon?
Where is that to?
I mean, where is it to?
Where are you applying? What is the name
Oh,
of it?
this is the
Oh, this
EPA
is the
Thriving
same thing,
Communities
okay.
program. It all is. And the others, there's 3 categories of grants, of which we've been advised to apply for the middle one, which is $250,000.
Okay, yeah.
So
that is
for
lot
us,
of
that's a
money.
fortune.
Yeah.
You're
it's a lot of
talking
money.
about-
No, that's capacity building. That's what you need.
Pardon?
You need capacity building
Yeah,
grants.
yeah.
That's what you
It's
need.
capacity building, yeah. And this is gonna take, I think, some community support, especially the $75,000 grant. They say it's not competitive, but what they really mean is it's one of those situations where part of the selection process, all the people who are applying, it goes up on the website and people from the community vote.
Oh,
So we are certainly gonna get all of our people, or at least encourage them to all get on that website and vote. But we may be coming to others of you as well and saying, hey, if you can support us, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
The other one doesn't work that way. This is happening very soon. It was supposed to be an ongoing rolling process, blah, 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 blah. Since the election, they are hoping to push as much of the money out as they can for inauguration. So instead of being rolling applications over 6 months, one deadline is December 15th, the other deadline is December 15th.
Right, hurry up before Elon Musk takes all that money back.
You got it. I mean, that's, you know, it's very clear. So that's what we're hoping to be able to do. We're keeping our fingers crossed for that. This money, we'll kind of go the same if we do, because it's a lot of money, but we're applying. We've been encouraged to apply, we're applying. So that's kind of a big thing that we're looking at. We hope it will happen. We don't know.
are you eligible to apply for city council discretionary funds, and have you done that in the past?
We have not done it, and I need more information about it.
It's easier than you think, and you just, I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Kendra Miller, like kind of like,
Yeah, I can give it that to
oh,
you,
okay.
Yeah.
because I apply for them every year for
Oh,
a
there you go.
decade,
Yeah,
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 a
there you
very
go.
long time, so.
Okay. Last slide here. One of our ongoing challenges, and you've heard about this, I'm sure, is our lack of a boathouse. This is kind of a long-term problem. We operate out of Muskota Marsh with permission permits from Parks and Rec. Those are monthly event permits. They're not sort of anything long-term. It's been working. We get our permits. And that's great, but our equipment is stored outdoors. We don't have access to a building. We've even been told we can no longer use the bathrooms in the Columbia Tennis Center, because they don't like us for it.
Whoa.
I think those bathrooms are supposed to be open to anybody, but whatever. So we have no bathrooms, we have no showers, and we have no place to protect our boats. We did raise money to buy covers for our boats, but they're out there all winter. Last winter, something blew into one of our boats, and we haven't been able to repair it yet. And so that's our real challenge. And it will be hard for us to keep expanding where we are in Muskota. We're keeping, right now, we're storing 5 boats outside on sort of a rack and some, you know, things that a boat sits on. If we get the funding to buy more boats, we're looking at another 8, another quad or 4, and probably more doubles. And we will take more space. We are talking to Jana, and maybe you know about this too, Chris. We occasionally talk to Jana and she talks to us about trying to convince Columbia they should let us store their boats in their boathouse, not outside their boathouse. Their boathouse is largely empty.
Come on, Columbia,
You gotta ask-
do what's
ask
right.
for a tour.
Well, yeah, we've actually been there. Somebody let us in one day. But their boathouse is empty because they were in New Jersey, they were. So, but that's, hypothetical. In any case, we're exploring locations, we're working on it as far as we can see, in sort of the, 5 to 10 year perspective, the two new parks at Academy Street and North Cove are the most plausible. So, certainly if we receive this EPA funding and can expand our networks into the community, it'll be easier for us to do advocacy with the city on this issue. But that's where we are.
Is that it?
Thank you. Thank you. Just in time.
That's me and-
I need to jump off. I'm gonna let Alexis, the co-chair, continue the meeting. But I do have a question because it seems that the safety concerns, those need to be also presented to the safety committee and also the transportation committee. And I am more than happy to write a joint resolution with those two other committees to call for both the NYPD and the DOT to really start providing the safety measures, including the signage, including the deficiencies that you are observing. So Joy, if you write to me what the asks are, and once you have presented this presentation to DOT, if you haven't, to DOT, the DOT, the Transportation Committee and the Safety Committee, I think it's a great opportunity for a cross-functional, cross-committee effort to really bring the safety issues to the attention of city agencies and elected officials.
Yeah, we have talked to the safety committee, presented to them. We have not presented to the transportation committee.
Okay, with that, Barbara, take it away, and my apologies, and I leave you in good hands. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, Lana.
Barbara has a question.
Yes, of course.
Yes, I am. Barbara had her hand up and then, go ahead, Barbara.
I thought Barbara was about to co-chair.
Barbara, you got to unmute.
Unmute. You're on, Barbara. Let's go.
Okay. I brought up to this, I'm on the safety committee also when you brought up this issue of the wakes and the problem with the cruise boats. And I had suggested in your asks that the NYPD has water boats, has a water contingent. I wouldn't say a precinct, but they do have water safety boats, and that part of the ask should be that there be certain patrol hours where they monitor those boats, because it's illegal that these boats are speeding. I mean, when it's just as serious as if they were speeding on a truck speeding on the highways, and it's a serious consequences for these captains to try to rush the bridge. I don't know if everyone on the committee is aware, but what these boats do is they try to rush through the bridge before the bridge turns, and they have to wait, when the bridge goes down or goes up. And so they're basically, it's like trying to run a yellow light before it turns red is what they're essentially doing. And that's very serious. So I think that we should also ask that there actually be a police presence there in the water, to give out speeding tickets, as an analogy to what happens on the roads. And we probably should talk to the inspector in the 34th precinct or whoever handles it in 1 PP in terms of how they would delegate that kind of task, whether it comes out of 1 PP or the 34th precinct, whoever it is that handles the waterways. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Barbara. Anybody else? Chris?
Oh, just if you don't mind sharing with me the language for DPR's role in enforcement, I'd love to see it and just have a conversation with and work.
Oh, I put it.
You gotta raise your hand. Barbara, you ready to speak again? Go ahead, Barbara.
In the safety committee meeting, I actually put up the paragraphs from the maritime code for New York City that showed how the NYPD in part was responsible. Maybe you could look at the minutes for the safety committee. I can't look it up tonight. And I'm going away for a few days, but send me your email and I could look it up again, but it's quite explicit.
Okay,
I
thank you.
have that, it's on.
Anybody else? No more questions? Okay, no questions in person, nobody online. Okay, so now we're going to go to old business, new business, and other announcements. Anybody have any old business they'd like to discuss?
No,
Okay.
any new business, no.
No, well, actually not, no, I just want to reiterate that we are beginning, in January, we are going to have everyone take a turn to, write the minutes. It will require a higher level of detail, because that's what Glenn and I do, you know, we take a copious amount of notes, and then we also use, the video, and emails that of, people's events from parks and cultural organizations. And so like, I'm gonna have to ask you guys to email those slides to us so that we can, in the meetings, in the minutes, we can, list all of your concerns in there for public record. So I will be sending out, a template for how to do the minutes. And, if anybody would like to volunteer now for January, that would be great.
For the whole, for.
No, just for January.
Okay,
So everyone's gonna have, it'll be like, everyone should have at least 1 month where they're doing the minutes.
so if that's the case, sign me up for January.
All right, thank you, Danny.
I'm gonna swing it.
Yes, you are, as always. Okay. All right, motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, boss.
Happy holidays.
All right, everybody, have a great
Happy
holiday season. See you all in January. Bye.
Wait, so how late are you guys on?
Oh.